What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. During the last few parts, we covered a scenario where Bardock started a rebellion. Not only did he survive, but he started an uprising against Frieza, being successful in the process. And now, where's that going to take everyone? Well, that's going to be the point of today's part. And you might even be wondering, why is this a finale? Well, I'm going to explain that in a bit. For this video, we'll set a like goal of 2,500 likes. If we hit that, it lets me know you guys want to see more videos like this one, and I might also continue this scenario in the future, so that'll let me know that there's interest. No promises though. Anyways, let's pick up from where we left off and finish this story. So why am I cutting it off so set up everything that's going to happen afterwards? This part will cover some more. There are going to be some battles, there's going to be some action, and there's going to be some setups for future stuff. But if the focus of this what if is the rebellion itself, then there's not really any point covering the stuff after it. Sure, the effects of it might be important, but it honestly just feels like treading water to me, and I don't really need to drag this out. Especially with so many characters here, and no real end goal anymore, it's a fair place to end it off. So let's start off with a time skip. Since the last part, a couple of years have passed, probably a decade by this point actually. And definitely a lot has changed. First, let's talk about Earth. So, Kakarot and Vegeta have stayed there. As for Kakarot, he actually did end up meeting someone that he bonded with pretty well. That person is Chi-Chi. At some point, they would cross paths. And as all Saiyans are, he's attracted to a strong woman. So Kakarot still ends up with the same person, even though he's a different person pretty much. Oh yeah, he and Krillin remain friends too. They encounter strong foes such as androids, but they breeze through it together. Thanks to the help from Kakarot and Vegeta, a lot of these threats on Earth aren't a problem. Remember what I mentioned last time? They're already so far ahead of everyone, and that's kind of the reason I'm ending it so early, because everything is so far ahead that none of the battles are really going to be too worth covering. But yeah, Kakarot and Krillin, they're still friends. That's a bond that's not going to go away. Even with the greatly different circumstances of the scenario, they still find a friendship here. Although, Kakarot has a very different rival. It's not Vegeta, and it's not Krillin, it's Granola. The two of them still do remain rivals. Occasionally Kakarot is going to be leaving Earth, going to visit family in space. And Vegeta occasionally does the same too, but mostly Kakarot, since he has a connection with this group more so than Vegeta. He's glad that his family's living a peaceful life, but of course, he does want to spar sometimes. Oh yeah, and Chi-Chi does want to meet the family, and it's a pretty nice honeymoon to go out in space. But Kakarot's able to check up on his friends there, and with his newfound strength, he's able to test it out against his greatest rival, Granola, and the two of them are still pretty close. They're each glad to see that the other is growing in strength, but also glad to see that the other is living a fulfilling life. So what's happening with everyone else though? That's just Kakarot. As for Vegeta, well, he's chilling on Earth. He's still doing training, and we'll cover him a bit more. But as for the Saiyans that aren't on Earth, let's start with Bardock. Remember, he's immortal here. Another reason why a lot of the opponents he faces aren't really going to be a big deal. He is immortal. Nothing's going to kill him. His training becomes incredibly intense, and his strength, it's massive. It goes way beyond where he ever could have expected it to go. I mean, combine immortality with Zenkai's, and you got a really deadly combo right there. And of course, the Saiyans don't really have too much to do otherwise. They're living normal lives and just having a peaceful time, but they still do want to train. It's in their blood after all. They love fighting, and they love sparring with each other. And it's great for Bardock. He's essentially a living punching bag. It's not really that amazing. I mean, he's still going to feel the pain of it. But he grows really strong by training like this, and it lets him train at much higher levels without having to worry about his safety, because there is no such thing as that anymore. He's safe regardless. He's not going to let the power get to his head. He was worried at first about the wish, but since it did help him defeat Frieza, he's fine with it, and it was kind of a last resort. Minato made the right choice here. Bardock's actually going to utilize this as a training tool. Unsurprisingly, being immortal is a really great tool in training. The rest of the group flourishes as well. Oh yeah, and by now, everyone's definitely going to have Super Saiyan. With this great time skip, there's going to be a certain point where some people would start to earn it. Vegeta, Kakarot, and Raditz would be some of the first, as the others follow suit. Even the members of Bardock's squad and Gide are going to be getting, according to what Kakarot's saying, Earth has had way more threats than anyone out here in space. After the defeat of Frieza, they haven't really come across anything too amazing. At least not up until now. After one of Kakarot's villains, you'll see who I mean. They're not sure how many Saiyans just left, but they know that this group is split up, and this is a perfect time to strike. Two ships land on the planet, two familiar faces. It's Paragus and Broly. Paragus has tried to hone Broly's power as much as possible, and he tells Bardock he's here for his revenge. And now, this is something that Bardock didn't really expect. He completely forgot about them out in space, and Broly might actually be a formidable foe. Paragus? Nah, he's not going to care about him. But Broly? Yeah, he might be tough to deal with. So, Bardock gets ready to fight, with the rest of the group also following. And Paragus can already tell, they have gotten stronger, but like Bardock said, he told Paragus he would kill him next time he comes here, if he hadn't calmed down. And of course, he hasn't calmed down. Well, whatever. Bardock's not going to feel bad about this then. He gave Paragus his warning, and he told him again. If this is how Paragus wants it to be, then so be it. Paragus sicks Broly on everyone, and Bardock goes in alone. He tells everyone to let him handle this. Of course, they would love to fight Broly, but he's unpredictable and strong. It's too dangerous for them. For Bardock, it's nothing at all. Well, at first it kind of is an issue. Broly has his wrathful form now. Something that he's had, but now he has better access to it, better control in it. It's not like he's mastered it or anything, he still is a little bit berserk with it, but the power of it is all that really matters here in this battle. He doesn't care that it takes control of him, or at least Paragus doesn't. He wants Broly to utilize this form. Worst case, he'll just be electrocuted. And the fear of that is essentially what led Broly to getting better control over this form. Control equals no electrocution. It's a very terrible way of training him, but it did work. And Bardock takes note of this too. Broly is stronger, but he wonders at what cost. He knows Saiyans are cruel, but he can't believe Paragus would treat his son like this, just over some petty grudge. Broly does have the upper hand at first, even with Bardock having Super Saiyan. And something weird happens mid-battle, something that Paragus didn't expect. He welcomes Broly to attack him, and Broly begins attacking with all his might. And Bardock is taking the full force of every single hit, and Paragus just watches on. Why is he doing that? Is he stupid or something? Does he have a death wish? This definitely isn't something he could handle. He can't just be cocky and take all of Broly's attacks. That's such a stupid strategy. And the rest of the group watches on too, pretty unamused, and Paragus wonders why they don't care. Bardock is dying. Broly is mutilating him right now. He tells Bardock he always thought he was insane, but not this insane. Really? He's the insane one? He asks Paragus to think about what he's really saying, and this only pisses him off even more. But as Paragus continues watching this beatdown, he sees Bardock is healing. Every time he takes some significant damage, it just restores. He's healing somehow, instantly in fact. Everything Broly is doing is accomplishing pretty much nothing. Broly is getting frustrated, getting a little bit stronger too as he gets angrier. But at some point, Paragus has to call it off. He doesn't want Broly to die here, so he pulls out the remote, electrocuting Broly, noticing that he's losing control of himself. And Bardock tells him why'd he do that. He was about to stop Broly himself with his own power, the power that he just collected from this beatdown. Paragus demands to know right now what just happened, and Bardock explains. They're not going to defeat him that easily. First, he explains the fact that he's immortal, and then he explains why he's immortal. They defeated Frieza. He was right. Paragus is wrong. And the best part is, Vegeta actually did help them. He was so against having Vegeta help, but really, Vegeta was a better asset than Paragus could have ever been. And Bardock says too, Paragus had his chance. Right now, he's not an important asset. They can kill him right now and that wouldn't really even matter. Just because he's a Saiyan doesn't mean they need to keep him alive. It would be better to just kill him off right now. But Bardock isn't some cold-hearted brute anymore. Unlike most Saiyans, he's grown to actually have a heart here, or at least be more logical, and he gives Paragus one last chance. He sees that Paragus is infuriated. And even though he didn't physically defeat Paragus, which he could do pretty easily, he did mentally defeat him. He could tell. Paragus has given up. And Bardock hopes that he can think rationally right now, so he gives Paragus one last chance. Join them, or he and Broly will both die here and now, because there's no other reason to keep them alive. It'll be a risk if anything. As much as he hates to do it, Paragus does admit defeat, and he says he'll stick with them. He doesn't want to admit it, and he won't admit it, but Bardock was right. They did defeat Frieza, and the fact that he did that, well, that does earn some of Paragus' respect. Not a lot, but some. A little bit is there. Plus, they know not to mess with Bardock. There's no reason to just die needlessly here when they could just join. Broly's not even really an issue. He does whatever Paragus does. It's Paragus' pride that's holding him back. All they need to do is put that pride aside for a little bit, and then just join the group, see what it's about. And look what they're doing. They're living normal, peaceful lives. Paragus could easily have that too. So, they end up joining Bardock's group. As time continues going on, Bardock's power continues to skyrocket even further and further. In case it wasn't obvious enough, that fight with Broly gave a really good boost for power. But most importantly, he's enjoying a nice life with his family and his squad. And now they have Paragus and Broly there too. Of course, they do calm down a little bit as time goes on. Again, it's only really Paragus. Broly wasn't that much of an issue. He's easy to turn over. Although, we haven't really covered Vegeta yet, so let's go back to Earth for a bit. As Kakarot and Vegeta return there, well, they're basically fine. Their lives are going really great. Kakarot's got a fiancée who eventually turned into a wife, and Vegeta and Bulma, that ended up working. I mean, a magical wish-granting dragon with insane power did put them together after all, so they probably were a decent match in the first place. But the two of them are in loving relationships, and they actually have a common friend, Krillin. And as for Krillin, there is something a little bit different about him here. He still admires Vegeta, a lot. If you remember back from before, Vegeta basically saves his life and Krillin looks up to him. He's his idol. It's such a weird thing to think of, but that's how it is in the scenario. He's developed a frankly odd student-teacher relationship with Vegeta, something that you'd probably never expect, while also still being friends with Kakarot. That awesome stuff that Vegeta did when he first arrived on Earth, yeah, Krillin's never gonna forget that, especially him saving Krillin's life. And Vegeta is glad to be viewed so highly. It is a bit weird at first to have someone idolize him like this, but he is a prince after all. He's gotta get used to it. As royalty, he does kind of deserve this respect. Now, Krillin's not going to be fanboying or simping for him all the time or whatever, but it's more so that he admires Vegeta and aspires to be a lot like him. That power, he can get some of it from Vegeta by learning from him. Or at least he hopes so. It's a great next step in his training too, even if it does seem a little bit fanboyish. And like I mentioned, the androids are stopped. With these 3 amazing fighters working together, 2 of them being way stronger than they were normally, yeah, the androids aren't really going to be an issue. Meaning there's also no future time traveler because there's never a need for that. All that happens here is probably androids 19 and 20 showing up, and they get easily defeated. Just as quickly as they appear, they're dispatched. Oh yeah, and I know this is a common theme for my scenarios, but here there's really no reason for the Buu saga. It's very easily avoidable. You have Vegeta and Kakarot here, but there's no way that Babidi's going to be able to possess either of them. Being raised as Saiyans, they do still have some of that evilness within them. They're not purely good people, but they have no desire to be possessed, and they're strong enough to counter it. That's even if that happens and they don't just stop Dabur immediately. And as for their families, they're probably still going to end up having kids. Vegeta has Trunks, and as for Kakarot and Chi-Chi, they probably would have a kid too, but this is going to be way later than Gohan was actually born. And also, he wouldn't be named Gohan here at all. There's no real reason to name him that. If anything, Kakarot would probably give him a Saiyan name. He can call him Kakarot Jr. He can call him Bardock, maybe. Or name him after his uncle, Raditz. No, he needs his own unique name. And you know what a perfect Saiyan name would be for him? Turles. For some reason, Kakarot finds that name appealing. He doesn't know why, but there's some connection with it that he has. And also, that's really the best I can think of. I wouldn't really want to give Gohan the name Gohan here because that doesn't make sense. Not that it really matters anyway, because this is the end of the scenario regardless, and they're not going to be too involved with Gohan and Trunks. Or Turles and Trunks, I guess. It's just worth mentioning because I think it's kind of funny. So we've basically breezed through Z. What happens next? Well, at some point, Beerus is going to wake up, seeking out the Super Saiyan God. And it seems to be perfect timing. All the Saiyans are in one place. They're having a reunion on Earth. Kakarot and Vegeta welcome them there. Bardock and Gine do visit from time to time after all. I mean, their son and grandson is there. But this time, the whole squad's going. They want to see what Earth is like. They have been, but this is going to be a time that they're actually staying there, which will be nice. Although it's not just all of the Saiyans there. There's someone else too. Beerus and Whis show up. And it's not just Vegeta that knows about him. There's probably some other Saiyans that do know of Beerus because of that interaction that he had with King Vegeta. Maybe they've heard of him, or they've even seen him up close. Of course, some others wouldn't know who he is, like Kakarot and Granola and Kakarot's family. They're not going to have any idea of who this guy is. But the fact that they see the Saiyans cowering in fear at him, yeah, that makes them also cower in fear too. Although people like Chi-Chi and Bulma probably wouldn't care too much. Beerus at least does act polite, and he tells them he's not here to destroy them or whatever, if that's what they're worried about. He's looking for a rival, the perfect rival, a Super Saiyan God. He asks if they know anything about it, and no, they don't. They've never heard of that. They do have Super Saiyan, and they do have very strong people on their group, like Bardock, for example. He's immortal. Immortal? An immortal Saiyan? That's pretty insane, and Beerus is actually intrigued. Okay, he wants to fight this guy, regardless if he's a Super Saiyan God or not. He wants to see his power. So, Bardock obliges. Although, his power is definitely not going to be enough to contend with Beerus, even at his full strength. Beerus is a little disappointed, but there is one more option. Bardock completely forgot about this. They could ask one of the dragons. I mean, they have Monito here in his Dragon Balls, but they also have Shenron on Earth too. Oh yeah, one of those wish-granting dragons. Sure, go ahead, as long as it works, that's all that Beerus cares about. With Monito being there and the fact that they only need 2 Dragon Balls, they just summon Taranbo instead. That's the easier option. The 2 Dragon Balls are placed together and the dragon appears. And they ask how they could find a Super Saiyan God, with Taranbo explaining the ritual. Oh, that's perfect. Of course, in the main series this was an issue, but here, they have more than enough Saiyans. They actually have more than double the Saiyans that they need. Beerus actually chuckles at this. They could do 2 rituals at once if they wanted. But Whis says not to get too ahead of himself. They need to make sure at least one of the rituals works in the first place. So, the ritual is formed. It's going to be done on Bardock. Raditz, Gine, Kakarot, Vegeta, and Nappa all join hands. They'll perform the ritual on him. They all channel their power into Bardock, and sure enough, it ends up working. Beerus looks on stunned. He's elated, beyond belief. He has a rival, a Super Saiyan God, and the best part is, he's immortal. An immortal and godly rival. He must still be dreaming. This is amazing. Of course, his power isn't at the same level as his right now, but he could easily be whipped into shape, especially with him being immortal and all that time they could spend training. And Bardock is just as excited too. He never thought this would happen. This is such a weird thing to even think of. So unexpected and a little bit terrifying, but also, the potential's insane, and he's ready for it. The 2 of them, they could fight together for eternity, get so much stronger, get so much enjoyment out of the battle. Beerus thanks everyone, and he turns to Bardock. Come join him on his planet, please. And Bardock takes one last look at his group. This isn't a permanent goodbye, but this seems right for him, and they can see how happy he is. He works so hard for everything. He deserves this. Bardock powers up again, turning to Beerus and nodding. The eternal rivalry between these two gods is only just beginning. But where this rivalry begins is where this series ends, so this is where we'll end off for now. So, what did you guys think about this part in the series as a whole? If it ever continues, what do you think would happen next? Leave any thoughts in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out because I'd love to see what you guys think. As always, if you'd like the video, be sure to drop a like. And let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video so it lets me know that you want to see more videos like this one. And it also really helps with the channel. If you haven't already, why not subscribe? As well as hitting the bell icon to be notified about any future uploads of my channel, including more parts of the series or any other videos like it. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting this scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.